Greg, good to see you.
It's great to meet you here in Beijing.
I understand you are going to have some close interactions with your Chinese friends and potential counterparts. Tell me, what do you think you want to figure out with them within the short period of time during the entourage?
Yeah, so look, I've spent the last few years getting to know some incredible people and companies here in China. The reality is that in the world of energy, we're at the beginning of the next revolution. Europe has made some great contributions, but today, China's technology progress is leading the way. And I hope that together we can find ways to help the people of China have cleaner and cheaper energy, to help the people of Europe and the UK have cheaper and cleaner energy, and work together to bring that to the rest of the world. The European continent is still too dependent on fossil fuels. So if I look at the UK or maybe Germany, 70% of Germany's energy is imported. But the technologies of solar, wind, battery enable a country to produce its own electricity. And I think that's got to be, give them more security, but it helps bring costs down. It helps improve the quality of life. It not only tackles climate change, but it makes for cleaner air and quieter cities. I was just walking through Beijing and it's so much quieter now because all of the two-wheel vehicles are electric. Indeed. Most of the taxis, a lot of the cars, even buses and vans. I think that's an upgrade that we can bring everyone.
That's indeed true. Also the air, you probably have noticed.
The air is so much cleaner.
So much cleaner.
And for the first time last year, I went from Chinese cities, from Beijing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, to other countries, and realised that the other countries were noisier, and sometimes the air wasn't as clean. And I think that electrification is something that we can benefit the world with.
It is common sense that electrification is the way forward. But how to make sure that politics are not swaying in a pendulum from here to there to extremes, so that a business like yours can work with your counterparts that you have chosen?
I think in every industrial revolution, you're replacing some technologies of the old world with new technologies. And you always find that the people who provide the technologies that power our existing world will struggle to handle the technologies of the new world. And of course, when you talk about politics, the big change is just that some companies that have provided the power and the energy we need today are going to play a different role in the future. That change is hard, but we can help them through it. More importantly, though, we can help our citizens through it so that citizens get the benefits of more energy, cleaner energy, and cheaper energy. And during these times of change, there will always be, some deep discussions and disinformation. But in the long run, physics, the laws of physics are the same everywhere, and physics wins.
Wind, solar, batteries, these are the areas that many Chinese companies are taking the lead worldwide. How to tap into their potential? Do you have some specific plans, especially providing solutions for Europe, which is now thirsty for energy?
Yeah, so I think today, some countries are thinking about, do they go back to fossil fuels, to gas and oil? And others are moving ahead with electrification. The difference is fossil fuels are mature. They're not going to get any better. The electric technologies, solar, wind, battery, are getting better every year. Yes. And so what I really want to do...
Every few months, so to speak.
Every few months, it's relentlessly getting better. Getting cheaper. Batteries are getting smaller. Everything's getting better, more reliable. And so I think that if I can help countries understand that by working with these technologies, they're going to be improving their economy, they're going to be improving the quality of life of citizens, that in 10 years' time, there'll be a very, very big gap between those that have electrified and those that haven't. let's electrify.
Competition, complementary. How do you understand the relationship between these two?
Sport is no good if you have a team from the top division playing an amateur team. Sport works when competitors are both roughly equally good. You want great competition between those who what's the word? I kind of have all got a lot to give, and I think that's really important. So, like, Manchester United need Liverpool, right? Yes. And in the same way, countries need to be sort of friends and also competitors, but we want to be in the same division.
Yeah, but there has been a lot of concern whether the Chinese products will flood the British market or the European market, and as a result of that, whether that is, safe for the national security, and the list goes on. As a real practitioner in the field, what is your thoughts about all of these concerns, so to speak?
I think first of all we have to respect those concerns. We have to understand that countries have always been concerned about national security. And in today's world, countries are right to be concerned about national security.
If they know what exactly is the national security they're talking about.
So national security is complex. Energy security, cyber security, and so on. Military security. But I think that if I look specifically at energy, we can create great national security when we can generate our own electricity rather than having to rely every day on imports from other countries. Now, if countries are worried about things like cyber security attached to energy, we can build solutions that mean, I hope that we're friends. But even if we're not friends, we can have secure solutions that enable us to keep on using these bits of equipment. This is a solvable problem.
Earlier, I was talking to the chair of the CVBC and talking about the concerns both in the UK and in China from the business community of the shifting limits of policies, the flip-flop of policies, the predictability or lack of predictability of policies. As a business community leader, in a way, what do you think is the way to go? How much the policymakers should really consult the business communities to get the facts rather than hearsay and daresay?
Look, you really discover what's going to work when you use it. The longer we spend arguing and waving our hands, the less we can actually test and build the solutions that will power our economies for the future. Now, the reality is that predictability is great, stability is great, but even in a world where you have less predictive instability, if we can act now, then we can secure more solutions that are in place, whatever may happen.
Now, when it comes to Europe and energy, you provide, as far as I understand, 20 million users with your service. That's very impressive, especially right now. How do you see the latest changes in policies, particularly regarding fossil fuels and renewable energy, both inside the policy framework of Brussels and also in individual countries on the European continent?
Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. But I recognize that the scale of China means that if my company helped tens of millions of people, mainly in Europe, but in other countries as well, being here in China, we can work to help hundreds of millions of people. I mean, I find that incredibly exciting. I think that when I look at my customers, I think about things like you mentioned fossil fuels there. Look, our customers everywhere want the same thing. They want cheap, reliable energy, and by the way, if it doesn't contribute to climate change, then they'll be happier. But the reality is that, you know, for everyone, almost everyone we serve, anywhere in the world, affordability is the most important thing. So I think when I'm here, what I'm trying to say is the world should not have to choose between expensive clean energy and cheap fossil fuels. We need to give them cheap, clean energy so that they don't have to choose between their immediate needs and the long term. And that's what I think cooperation on the best technologies can achieve.
I have noticed an urgency the British and also, shall I say, as a whole, European businesses are feeling in terms of global competition and cooperation. Now, we understand Europe is in the process of streamlining its priorities, its partnerships, and to restructure the kind of relationship with some of the biggest powers. So as a business leader, how do you read the process of this? And what does that mean, do you think, might be for your business environment for the next few years to come?
So, like many mature economies, Europe has been growing slowly. It's growing slowly because the industries that have built the prosperity of today don't hold all the solutions for the prosperity of tomorrow. As European leaders look at that slower growth and say, how can we improve economic growth? I think, you know, for example, some of the technologies that we can find here in China enable us to say, look, we can create great growth for the future in these areas working together. Now, I think that's become more urgent for European leaders because in a more complex world, they're going to have to take responsibility for their future. And that means looking around the world for the right ingredients. And I think they'll find some of them here. But I also hope, you know, look, what do I love about China? You know, the people. When I'm here in China, I discover that, first of all, we've got more in common than we have in difference. Yes. I feel as natural walking around these cities as I do around the cities of Europe or anywhere else. And I discover people are very interested in the things that we can bring to the party, and I'm very interested in what they can bring. And you know, that kind of mutual understanding, looking for common
mutual
ground
curiosity,
first.
mutual understanding.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you know, I visited a research and development campus in Guangdong. Okay. And, you know, the buildings were based on buildings in the rest of the world, on Heidelberg, on Paris, and on Oxford. How exciting is it to be European, to see that the inspirations from our world are here, and for us to respect the inspirations we can take back?
China is going to peak in terms of carbon, you know, in 2030. And we're going to see that process definitely going to be implemented. But at the same time, we did see some setbacks in Europe, for example, about these original goals in terms of timing, not to mention the United States. So how do you read the potential landscape of your markets worldwide? How do you prepare for all options?
First of all, technology always wins. And so, you know, if we look at the US, you know, the state with the most renewables is Texas. Texas is the home to the oil industry. But increasingly, because Texas, you know, allows people to build things, what they're building is solar power and wind and a lot of batteries. You know, California powers its evenings now on electricity from batteries. And Australia put batteries into 100,000 homes in 3 months. This is happening everywhere. And if I look at Europe,
Middle East as well.
The Middle East, you know,
Southeast Asia.
Exactly. I was in Saudi Arabia. They're building 70 gigawatts of solar power. To put that in perspective, my country, the UK, is a 50 gigawatt system. Right, so it's happening, and it's happening because of the engineering, the technology, and the economics. And so Europe was an early mover. And what happened is Europe has built a lot of clean energy technology, but it did it when it was expensive. if they look at the cost now, everything they build going forward will get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. They need to do that.